I never imagined I'd reach an age where my own grandson would look at me as if I were some relic from a different century. But there we were. Me, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea, and him, head buried in his phone, scrolling, tapping, and snickering at things I could barely see from across the table. "Grandma," he said, with that half-patient, half-condescending tone teenagers use when they think they're being kind. "You don't get social media. It's different now." I smiled, the way only a woman who has raised 3 children and buried 1 husband can smile, calm, amused, and quietly dangerous. "Maybe," I said, "but people haven't changed. Just the tools they use to lie." He didn't even look up. "It's not lying, Grandma. It's just filters. And captions. You wouldn't understand." Ah, that word. Wouldn't. That tiny word that carries a mountain of dismissal. I'd heard it all my life. From my husband, when I wanted to start a small business at 35. You wouldn't understand the risks. From my boss at the clinic. You wouldn't get the new system. Martha. And now from a boy who wasn't even alive when I learned to fix my own plumbing. Still, I just smiled and let him have his moment. He'd just turned 21. Proud, handsome, and hopelessly glued to his little glowing screen. I asked, "So what do you do on this social media?" He grinned. "It's about engagement, Grandma. Likes, followers, comments. It's about influence." "Influence," I repeated, swirling my tea. "Funny, in my day, influence meant how many people would come to your funeral because you'd actually been kind to them." He rolled his eyes, the way only a grandson can when he thinks his grandma is adorable but outdated. Later that evening, after he left, I sat by the window with my old iPad. It was dusty, slow, and filled with half-forgotten photos of birthdays, gardens, and my late husband's smile. But something about that conversation kept me awake. You don't get social media. Oh, but I could learn. That night, I stayed up watching tutorials on YouTube. How to post on Instagram. How to use Facebook. Understanding hashtags. I chuckled when I saw young influencers explaining engagement like it was a brand new religion. Within 2 days, I had my profile set up. My picture was simple, me in my blue sweater, smiling softly. My bio read, "Just a grandma who has lived long enough to know what really matters." I didn't tell anyone. I just watched, quietly, like a cat in a room full of mice. And oh, the things I saw. My grandson, Jason, had a public profile. Hundreds of photos of him with his girlfriend. Lisa, perfect lighting, expensive dinners, romantic captions. "The love of my life. Forever my girl. Lucky to have you." I knew Lisa, sweet, polite, with a voice that always sounded like she was holding back something sharp. I had my doubts, but I kept them to myself. Then one night, as I was scrolling through Jason's tagged photos, I found a story. Not from him, but from one of his friends. It was a video of a party. Music blaring, red cups, flashing lights. And there was Lisa, sitting on another man's lap, laughing as he whispered into her ear. My hand froze on the screen. I replayed it twice, just to be sure. Jason was nowhere in sight. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I'd been around long enough to recognize dishonesty, the way someone leans too close, the way they smile when they shouldn't. The next day, Jason came over again. I asked gently, "How's Lisa?" He beamed. "She's great, Grandma. Why?" "Oh, just wondering," I said. "She seems lively." He didn't catch my tone. He was too busy showing me another video of his followers. I nodded, pretending to be impressed. That night, I sat down at my computer and wrote a short post. Nothing direct, nothing cruel. Just a small reflection. Sometimes people post the sweetest pictures while hiding the ugliest truths. Be careful who you show off. They might be showing off someone else when you're not looking. I attached a photo, an old one of me and my late husband, taken at a small diner in 1974. His hand was over mine. The caption below read, "He never posted me online, but everyone knew I was his." I didn't tag anyone. I didn't name names, but I knew how the internet worked, how eyes wander, how gossip travels faster than fire in dry grass. Within hours, the post began to spread among my small circle. Some commented, "So true." Others said, "Love this wisdom." but one comment stood out. From a young woman named Clara, one of Lisa's friends. She wrote, "Wow, this hits different tonight," and then she deleted it. I sat back, my lips curling into the faintest, saddest smile. I hadn't planned to teach a lesson, but life has a way of doing that for you. Especially when people forget that grandmothers used to survive without filters, followers, or fake smiles. As I turned off my computer, my phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Lisa had viewed my story. Twice. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before I'd even had my coffee. 3 missed calls from Jason, 1 from my daughter-in-law, and a text that simply read, "What did you post?" I blinked, half asleep, still in my robe. My heart did a small skip. Not of fear, but of that peculiar intuition older women have when something they've long expected finally happens. Before I could even reply, Jason called again. I picked up. His voice was tight, sharp, like a wire pulled too thin. "Grandma, what did you do?" I took a sip of my tea. "Good morning to you too, sweetheart." "Don't sweetheart me." Lisa's furious. "She says you're trying to ruin her life." "Ruin her life?" I said softly. "That's dramatic. I just posted a memory about love and honesty. It wasn't even about anyone in particular." He sighed hard, then dropped his voice. "You know exactly what you were doing." "Oh, I did." But I wasn't about to give him that satisfaction. I said, "Jason, if a few lines on the internet made someone upset, maybe they saw a little too much of themselves in it." There was silence on the line. I could almost hear the gears turning in his young head. Then he muttered, "She said her friends are messaging her. They think it's about her." I didn't respond right away. I just let the truth sit there between us, quiet, heavy, and undeniable. Finally, I said, "Well, did you think it was about her?" He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. By afternoon, the post had gathered more comments. Old friends, church ladies, even my book club girls were chiming in. They said things like, "Oh, Martha, you always say it best. So true. Young people need to hear this. Love isn't about hashtags." Each comment made me chuckle. But underneath, I could feel a storm brewing. Sure enough, around 3 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Sharp, repeated. The kind of knock that carries an argument behind it. I opened it, and there stood Lisa. Hair perfect, nails immaculate, but her eyes were wild. She didn't even wait for me to invite her in. "You had no right," she snapped. "No right to post something like that." I stayed calm, my voice steady. "Like what?" "You know, that post. Everyone thinks it's about me." I looked at her for a long second. "And why would they think that, dear?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time, I saw a crack in that perfect, polished image. "Because," she stammered, "people saw that video." So she knew. I folded my arms. "I didn't post that video, Lisa. I didn't even mention it." I simply shared a truth. If that truth fits your story, maybe you should be asking yourself why. Her jaw tightened. "You're trying to destroy my relationship with Jason." "No," I said. "You're doing that all by yourself." She glared at me, trembling. "You're manipulative," I smiled faintly. "No, dear. I'm observant." Before she could say another word, Jason's car pulled into the driveway. He got out, still in his work uniform, his face pale with worry. "Lisa," he said, running up the steps. "What's going on?" "She posted that thing on purpose," Lisa shouted. "She's trying to turn you against me." Jason looked from her to me, torn. "Grandma, did you?" I took a deep breath. "Jason, I've never posted anything untrue in my life. But maybe you should ask yourself why Lisa's so scared of a simple post about honesty." He frowned, confused. "What does that mean?" I turned back into the house, motioning him to follow. "Come in. Let me show you something." Lisa started to protest, but he raised a hand. "No, Lisa. Enough. I need to understand." Inside, I sat at my desk and pulled up the same video I'd seen, the one from his friend's story. The room went silent as it played. The laughter. The man's arm around Lisa, the drink in her hand, and that unmistakable kiss on the cheek that lingered just a little too long. Jason's face went white. He looked as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. Lisa started crying instantly. It wasn't what it looked like. "It was just a joke," he cut her off, voice shaking. "A joke? You said you were home that night. You said you were studying." Her tears turned desperate. "Jason, please." But Jason just stepped back, his hand trembling. "Grandma didn't ruin your life. You did. I wanted to reach out, to hold him, to comfort him. But sometimes, lessons have to hurt before they heal." Lisa stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. Jason sank into a chair, his hands covering his face. "I can't believe this," he whispered. "All this time." I sat beside him and gently placed my hand on his shoulder. "Believe it, and learn from it. People hide behind screens, Jason. But truth always finds the light." He nodded, tears falling freely now. "I should have listened. You tried to warn me." "I didn't want to embarrass you," I said softly. "I just wanted you to see that wisdom doesn't expire with age." For the first time, he looked at me not as an old woman, but as someone who still had something to teach. "I'm sorry, Grandma," he murmured. "I shouldn't have said you don't get social media. You understand it better than I ever could." I smiled, squeezing his hand. "Oh, honey, I don't understand social media. I understand people." That night, he deleted every post of him and Lisa. But before logging off, he did something that made my eyes well up. He shared my post, the same one that started it all, and wrote, "My grandma taught me more with one post than social media ever has. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it saves you too." Within an hour, it had more likes than anything he'd ever posted. And somewhere, deep down, I felt my husband smiling. A few days passed. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. Jason had stopped posting altogether, which for someone his age was a kind of public mourning. His friends kept calling, asking what happened. He didn't answer. But the quiet didn't last long. It started with a knock on my door, again. When I opened it, there stood my daughter-in-law, Jason's mother, with her phone in her hand and a look I knew all too well. "Mama," she began carefully, "Lisa's gone online. She's saying you ruined her life." I sighed, motioning her inside. "Sit down, Margaret. Tea?" She shook her head. She posted screenshots. She twisted everything. "Now people are saying you're vindictive, that you bullied her. She's calling you a manipulator." I chuckled softly. "Oh dear, she really doesn't know who she's dealing with, does she?" Margaret frowned. "Mama, this isn't funny. She's tagging Jason, his friends, even family members." "Let her," I said calmly. "Truth doesn't shake when someone yells louder." Still, later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I opened Facebook. There it was, a long, dramatic post from Lisa. "I'm heartbroken. Some people just can't stand to see others happy. I was loyal, loving, and yet someone close to Jason spread lies about me to ruin our relationship. I hope someday karma teaches her kindness." Hundreds of comments. People offering sympathy, sending hearts. A few old classmates of hers calling me toxic in the replies. Oh, I smiled. Because I knew how stories on the internet work. People believe the first version they hear. But I wasn't going to fight with her in comment sections. I had lived too many years, seen too many truths unfold without shouting. Instead, I opened my own page and posted just one sentence. When someone tells their story too early, they leave out the part where the truth catches up. I turned off my phone, made myself chamomile tea, and went to bed. By morning, my post had exploded. Friends from church, neighbors, even old co-workers had commented. Some supportive, others curious. But the best part? Jason himself had commented too. He wrote, "The truth always does, Grandma. Always." That one comment shifted the tide. Suddenly, people began asking Lisa questions instead of me. Screenshots started circulating. The video, her texts, her messages to Jason's friends. One by one, her defenders went silent. But the internet never forgets, and humiliation, even deserved, cuts deep. 3 days later, I got another call. This time, it wasn't Jason or Margaret. It was Lisa. Her voice was small, cracked. "Mrs. Crawford, may I come see you?" For a moment, I almost said no. But then I remembered something my late husband used to say. Grace doesn't mean weakness. It means choosing peace when you could choose power. So I agreed. When she arrived, she looked nothing like her usual self. No perfect makeup, no designer purse, just a young woman with swollen eyes and trembling hands. "I came to apologize," she whispered. "I lost my job because of all this. My parents won't even talk to me. Jason won't answer my calls. I don't know what to do." I poured her some tea. "Start with honesty." She stared at her cup, her voice breaking. "I messed up. I was insecure, jealous. Jason loved you so much and I couldn't handle it. I thought if I made you look bad, he'd turn to me." I said nothing for a long moment, then quietly, "And how did that work out for you?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Not well. I've lost him." I leaned back, watching the steam rise from my cup. "You haven't lost him because of me, Lisa. You lost him because you didn't respect what he valued. Honesty, loyalty, family. Those are things no post can fake." She nodded slowly. "You're right." Then she looked up, desperate. "Can you please tell him I'm sorry?" I shook my head gently. "No, dear. That's your burden to carry. But I'll tell you this. Sometimes the best apology isn't words. It's change." She left quietly after that. And for the first time, I saw her not as an enemy, but as a frightened girl, lost in a world that measures love by likes and validation by views. That evening, Jason dropped by unannounced. He looked better, clearer, calmer. "Grandma," he said, sitting beside me. "Lisa came by, didn't she?" I nodded. "She told me everything. I think she finally understands what she did." "And you?" I asked gently. He exhaled. "I don't hate her, but I can't go back. I need time to figure out who I am without all the noise." I smiled. "Good. That's what growing up is, Jason. Learning that peace is worth more than attention." He took my hand, his eyes soft. "You were right. About everything. I used to think social media made people closer, but it just made us louder." I squeezed his hand. "That's because the loudest people are often the loneliest. But not you. You've got roots, and roots don't need applause." He laughed quietly. "You should post that." I chuckled. "Oh, I will. Give me an hour. I have just the right picture for it." Later that night, I posted one final message, a photo of Jason and me in the garden, smiling, sunlight filtering through the trees. The caption read, "Real connection doesn't need Wi-Fi. It needs trust, time, and truth." It wasn't meant for likes. It was meant for peace. And this time, when Jason shared it, he added something that made my heart full. She doesn't just get social media. She gets life. A week later, Lisa messaged me. She'd found a new job, volunteering at a senior center of all places. She said, "You were right. Sometimes the best apology is change." I smiled, reading her words. Maybe the world wasn't so lost after all. Sometimes it just needed reminding.